Morning, Woodland, fifth grade. Get your sunglasses on with this shirt I've got on. Whew, a little bright on the screen here this morning. I hope you are doing well. It's June 2nd. It's 6/2/2020, and I'm thrilled to be here with you. Thrilled you're here with me. In 1935, yes, the Sultan of Swat, Babe Ruth, retired. Yes, after 22 seasons in Major League Baseball, 10 World Series titles, 714 home runs. Babe Ruth retires on this day in 1935. In 1953, the coronation of Her Royal Majesty Queen Elizabeth II took place today. In 1865, the Civil War ended. In 1886, President Grover Cleveland, he got married in the White House, the only president, as a matter of fact. He married someone, I believe, 27 years younger than he was. So very interesting there. And lastly, a little social studies connection. In 1774, Parliament, yes, they issued and finalized the Quartering Act that demanded that the colonists provide barracks for British soldiers. And that even meant public housing. All right, so that was quite a controversial piece of legislation by Parliament. And you'll even find a little nod of the cap to the Quartering Act in the Bill of Rights, which says in time of war nor peace, should we be able to have soldiers in our homes. So that's it for history on this day. Yes, and we do birthdays today. We celebrate the birthday of Martha Washington, the first Lady of the United States. She was born back in 1731, passed in 1802. Let's see, how about my math yesterday? That was pretty pathetic, wasn't it? 71 years young. And Wayne Brady, famed comedian, love him. Love Whose Line Is It Anyway? Very talented guy. Let's Make a Deal. Comedian, great guy. Wayne Brady, he turns 48 today. Doesn't look a year older, over 35. I did not post it yet because I wanted to make note here in the broadcast. The middle school orientation. I will be posting that today around 9:50. I'm only going to read about one chapter and a little bit of the next one. I will then give you the opportunity this morning to sift through the middle school orientation. Everybody has a Bitmoji, from the principal to the assistant principal to the nurse to the athletic department, counseling department, to the teachers. So each one of these Bitmojis you'll just click on, and that'll open up then a video from one of them that they published for you. So I hope you enjoy that middle school presentation. At the end, there is a form. Please make sure that I believe so. I think that's what we were told. Check for the form. All right. So that's all on the news today. I know I already got a couple of messages. Mr. Yanish, where's the middle school orientation? I thought it was today. Yes, it is. Thank you. I got you. Don't worry. All right, so we left off yesterday. Today, again, I'm going to read chapter 2. We'll see where we're at. If we can get a little bit into chapter 3, that'll be good. If not, then we'll just do chapter 2. So let's see how we are today. We left off yesterday with the following, and it was wonderful. It was wonderful. It said, the figure turned. Their eyes met. Unexpectedly, the boy's hand reached toward Kenny. Taken completely off guard, Kenny reacted defensively, lifting his shoe to protect himself. The boy shrank back as if he expected a blow, and the next second he vanished, leaving Kenny to stare into an empty room. It was as if the boy feared him. Let's go. Wed with Permission by Scholastic. Something Upstairs by Avi. Chapter 2. Kenny made his way back to bed, determined to think through all that had happened. But the next thing he remembers is the morning sun pouring through the skylight, waking him. As soon as he realized it was morning, he jumped up and went to look at the room. All he found was the same small, empty, dirty, and very dull room. But the single box of books was pushed off the stain. Gazing at the stain again, Kenny was reminded of his thought when he first had seen it. Sorry, my apologies here. Getting some messages. I guess something isn't working, I guess. Okay, we'll make it work. Gazing at the stain again, Kenny was reminded of his thought when he had first seen it, that it had something to do with a death. There was nothing about the stain itself to put him in mind of a person or death, just a dark blotch. Then, what, he wondered, had caused him to think that? Kenny was glad to find his parents had not yet left for work. Any plans for today? His mother asked him. Kenny shook his head, slumped into a chair, swallowed some juice, and poured himself some cereal. Somebody told me about a swimming club, his mother went on. I think you could walk to it. You'd probably meet some other nice kids, too. Interested? Sure, Kenny said. I'll try to get off a little early, his father said. We could check it out then. Or you can do it on your own. Where is it? Kenny asked. His father told him. Kenny had already learned enough of the area to realize it wasn't far. I'll do it myself, he told them. As his mother was about to take off, she gave him a kiss. Sorry this time is such a drag, she said. School will start soon. I'll live, he assured her. Good, she bantered, giving him her brightest smile. I'd hate to see you otherwise. Something about her words stirred him. Ma? He called, just as she reached the door. She stopped. Do you, Kenny asked, believe in ghosts? Ghosts, she said, surprised. Right, ghosts. His father looked up quizzically from behind his paper. What makes you ask? She said. Just curious. No, she said, I don't. With a wave and a smile, she left. Kenny's father gave a shake to his paper. What made you ask that? He wanted to know. Kenny checked himself. It was hard to tell his father he believed the attic was haunted. A dream I had, he managed, about something upstairs. His father laughed. Hey, everybody has something upstairs. Kenny looked up. What do you mean? He said. You know, his father said offhandedly, something you don't want anyone to know about. Secrets. What about a ghost? Kenny asked cautiously. Father chuckled. If any place has the right to a ghost, he said, it's here. Why? Providence is the Why? Providence is a really old town. Lots of things must have happened here. Do you believe in ghosts? Kenny asked him. Nope, his father replied and retreated behind the paper. Dad? What? Kenny said. You know that scrapbook we were given? About our house? His father lowered the paper. Sure. Well, it has all those names in it. People who lived in this house. Right. How could I find out more about them? Such as what? You know, who they were, what they did for a living, if they had any kids who lived with them, stuff like that. He tried to make it sound of no great consequence. You certainly are caught up in this place, aren't you? I guess, Kenny said sheepishly. Glad you have something to occupy yourself, he said. It makes me feel better about this time. What do you mean? I don't know. Sometimes strange things happen to people in strange surroundings, particularly when they don't have much to do. So your project sounds worthwhile. You'll be our resident historian. I suppose a library could help you. He fetched a phone book and flipped through the pages. There's one on Ives Street. Where's that? Not far, Kenny said, walking distance. So now a little bit of time passes in the story. After breakfast, Kenny went up to his room and looked out at the scrapbook about their house. In it, he studied the names of the people who had lived on their plot of land. So it says Williams family, 1636 to 1743. That's probably Roger Williams' family. Sheldon, 1743 to 1769. Don't they live on Sheldon Street? So now that makes sense. There's the Stillwell family, 1769 to 1845. The Blaisdells, the Lawtons, the Lakes, the Vickies, the Butter family, the Myers family, the Salazars, the Floods, and the Meltons. And all of them with their dates are shown. Okay. So in case you're interested in dates, you can always go back and pause this later. Okay, there are the dates that the families lived. Okay. Their street was named Sheldon. He made a connection there. As for the rest, the names meant nothing to him. He copied out the list and set off. At the Ive Street Branch Library, Kenny quickly located a few books about Providence. For a small place, he discovered, the city has an enormous history. He learned about how the person who founded it, Roger Williams, how Providence people argued among themselves with Massachusetts, with Connecticut, as well as the English king about becoming a colony, how Providence joined with the Isle of Rhodes to arrive at the official state name, the state of Rhode Island and the Providence Plantations. He learned that the first big American war against the Native Americans ended in a massacre nearby. He read about the burning of the ship Gaspee, a prelude to the Revolution, about what happened in Providence during the Revolution, how the people of Rhode Island didn't approve the Constitution because it was not democratic enough. He found chapters about famous Providence sailors and merchants, how far they sailed, how they were the first Americans to go to China, how brave they were, how they grew rich trading rum and molasses. And finally, he learned how some of them, full of democratic ideals for themselves, make great sums of money bringing back people from Africa and selling them in the South long after the slave trade was illegal. But Kenny could find nothing about his neighborhood, much less his house. When he explained to the librarian what he was looking for, she said, "What you want is the historical library. That's exactly the kind of thing they specialize in. It's only 7 blocks from here, where the streets called Hope and Power meet." Okay, so another little area where time passes. I'll just give you a moment to kind of get caught up on Padlet if you want to type away for a moment. Kind of an overcast day today we'll experience, so, just keep that in mind. It's not going to be this sunny, spectacular day that yesterday was. As you're doing your work this morning, maybe get out early in the day. Looks like potential rain tomorrow. Yep. Even a little shower today. I don't know. We'll see. Then it turns warm, guys. Thursday, 87. Friday, 87. Saturday, 84. And then it cools off Sunday, Monday. So. Okay. The historical library, one of the old buildings, and not exactly cheerful, is a big, dark, brown block of a place. Kenny had to ring a bell to get in. Then he was questioned at the main desk. "I need to do some research," Kenny told the librarian. The man pushed forward a notebook and handed Kenny a pen. "Just sign in there, will you?" Kenny signed. The old man looked at the signature. "Holdorf. Sounds familiar," he murmured and pulled a card from a drawer. "Right. Just got a message this morning. Someone up in administration is expecting you." "Me? 15 Sheldon Street?" Kenny nodded. "Yes, you'll have to check in the administration office for permission to use the collection." "Where's that?" "Go out into the hallway, turn right, you'll see some steps. Go on up. When you get to the top, turn to your left. It'll be the first open door on the right. Got that?" Puzzled that he should be expected, Kenny walked out the deserted hall, made a right turn, went up the steps. At the top, he had to stop and think over the directions before making another right turn. There, Kenny found an open door. He walked in. The room he entered was shadowy, except for a lemon-colored blade of sun slashing through the tall, coffin-shaped window at the end. The walls were covered with shelves, and the shelves themselves were filled with yellowing papers, boxes, and books. The air was laden with dust. In the middle of the room was an antique desk, and behind the desk, a man in black. He was a small, thin man, white-haired. His fingers were narrow and long with carefully trimmed nails. At the front of the desk was a brass nameplate. It read, listen to this guy's name, Pardon Willinghast, Pardon, and then Willinghast, Pardon Willinghast. And under it, the name on his desk says historian. Sir, Kenny said finally. He had been standing in front of the man for a few moments without being noticed. The man looked up. His parchment-colored face. Oh, this is one of my favorite. Ready? This is an Avi classic line. Every time I come to this line every year, imagine this. His parchment-colored face, lined like a map of many roads, seemed rarely to have seen the light of day. Instead of saying the wrinkly man, he says his parchment-colored face lined like a map of many roads. There are many roads traveling up here in Mr. Yenish's forehead. Yes, you see that. But Pardon Willinghast. That's a great line by Avi here. His eyes were both dark and deep. His expression was grim. May I help you? He asked softly. Kenny gave his name. Holdorf, the man said. Ah, yes. He drew himself up. I believe your family has just bought and moved into 15 Sheldon Street. Is that correct? Yes, sir. How come you know? Kenny asked. The old man was silent for a moment. Then he cocked his head slightly to one side. House transfers are listed in the newspaper, he said. I have a desire to keep track of the old ones. It's a way of making myself useful here at the library to new owners who often show up. Satisfied with this explanation, Kenny told Willinghast that he wanted to find out about the people who used to live in this house. I've got a list, he said. Can I find out some stuff? Like use the library? May I? Asked Willinghast. See the names you brought? Kenny offered the list. He remembers fiddling with the keychain while the man studied the paper. Willinghast looked up at him at last. Do you have any knowledge about these people? He said. Kenny shook his head. May I suggest that there won't be much about them, Willinghast said. Not if this is all you have. If you will allow me, I'll retain it and check through some of my own resources. Come back tomorrow, and I'll tell you what I've been able to find. Is that agreeable? Kenny said yes. Good, said the man. He rose and came out from behind the desk. I'm always here, at your service. With a gesture, Willinghast guided Kenny to the door. Okay, that's not the end of the chapter. Okay. I just got a message from Miss Barber. Can someone please post on the chat the password for FOSSWeb? It looks as if a couple people are unclear on what that is, and I'm not able right now to do it. But if you could maybe just do that on the chat feature, this way everybody has it, I'd greatly appreciate it. Okay. Just got another page and a half here to read, so 2 pages will be good. Once more, Kenny stood in his attic looking at the room. So time passes. I forgot to say that. Okay. Once more, Kenny stood in his attic looking at the room, his eyes drawn again and again to the stain. Finally, he knelt by it, touched it. It felt cold. It was then that he had an idea. Using an old Boy Scout knife, he pried up a splinter of the wooden floor from the area of the stain and carefully wrapped it in a tissue. After dumping his allowance savings into his pocket, he took the splinter around the corner to Wickenden Street, where there was a pharmacy. Can I help you? Asked a white-coated woman behind the counter. It's sort of weird, Kenny said, suddenly feeling awkward. Give it a try, she said with a smile. Kenny explained who he was, where he lived, and he and his family had just moved in. He said they were fixing up the place and wanted to paint some floors, but one floor had a stain on it. His folks, he said, Needed to know what the stain was before painting. Is there any way to check this out? He unrolled the tissue and handed the woman the splinter. The pharmacist held it up, gave it a squint, and said, not that unusual request. We can send it for a chemical analysis. It will cost. How much? $10. Kenny counted his fistful of coins, just barely enough. He gave it to her and asked, how long will it take? I'll call as soon as the report comes in, she replied. Kenny thanked her and left. Interesting request, right? Very interesting request. All right, let's go. It was during dinner that Kenny asked his parents, why do ghosts haunt houses? His father turned to his mother. Kenny dreamed about ghosts last night. Oh, dear. First of all, his father continued, I don't believe in ghosts, as I told you. Secondly, they supposedly haunt places because something awful happened to them there. You know, a person is killed and his ghost remains in the house, or something unhappy occurred there. At least I think that's the notion. I've never heard of a happy ghost. Have you? He asked his wife. Casper, maybe. She shook her head. That must have been a vivid dream, honey, she said. It's living in an old house, in an old city, his father put it. There's lots of memories here. His mother said, I don't believe in houses having ghosts. Then she added, but, I'm willing to admit they have memories. It was a thought that intrigued Kenny. What's the difference? His mother thought for a moment. Then she said, I'm not sure. It was then that Kenny, without saying anything to his parents, made up his mind. That night, he would set his alarm for 2:15 and try to see exactly what was happening in that room. Stop there for today. I'll post that middle school thing for you in just a couple of minutes. Okay, I see it's 9:34. The next chapter is quite lengthy. So we will dive back in on Thursday. Remember, tomorrow's your virtual field trip day. I will not see you. I look forward to hearing all about it. Let's get a Google Meet in on Thursday, gang. Okay, let's bring everybody in into the room during reading. So around this time, 9:45, 9:45 on Thursday, we'll get Mrs. DeCarly in, and we'll have a little chat. Okay, guys. There is only one person yet that has not gotten their video in for the video yearbook. I have emailed you, so please check your email. It needs to be in by today. If it's not in today, you will not be part of the video experience for the graduation. All right, guys. Have a great day.